Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle, and welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time, welcome. I hope you can join the family and subscribe. If not, I hope you leave here edified. Um, Today, I just wanted to go back and do the series that I was speaking about, removing the mask. Today's topic is don't fall in love, step into it. And I want to address the one of the most number one factors of divorce, and this is not talked about enough because society has treated it like a normal thing. It has become a process in which we find what we define as love. That, my dear friends, is falling in love. If we can be truly honest about falling in love, we would finally see how this idea has trapped so many of us into choosing people or life partners based on falling. The interesting thing about falling is that if the word itself means, I actually looked in the dictionary for the definition of this word. It means moving from a higher to a lower level rapidly and without control. So you're moving from a higher level to a lower level rapidly, like fast, without control. It also means decreasing in number, amount, intensity, or quality. Therefore, you cannot make a sound decision based on you being in a state of less than or in a lower level. We know for a fact that for every human being, if you happen to fall, you will attempt to get up, and most of the time, sooner rather than later. Therefore, today I want to introduce an idea to you guys of stepping into love rather than falling in love, because the damage caused by falling has very bad consequences. I just want to read a small snippet from my book first to show you how falling in love or falling for a wrong person can damage you. Then we'll talk about things or ways you can learn to step into love instead of falling in love. Um, this is from the book Removing the Mask by yours truly. I'm reading from page 17. Okay. There were times I would look at him and wonder what I was doing with this guy. As I worked crazy shifts at the airport, I would get home, cook dinner, play with my child, ensure everything that is needed in the house is available, and do it all over again the next day. This went on for a long time until one day, as I was preparing for church, I looked at myself in the mirror. I was about to apply makeup and I could not recognize myself. It took me about 5 minutes just standing there and staring at the mirror. I was trying to find something familiar about the girl that was staring back at me, and I did not recognize her at all. I cried because that was the moment I realized that I had lost me. Mm, yeah. So, when I wrote that, I remember I had just finalized my divorce and I had moved back home, and I was processing how I found myself in a place where I had changed so much to a point that I loved him more. He had become my idol. The divorce didn't come because, and I want you guys to be clear on this. Sometimes people don't get divorced because they hate each other. It came because I loved him more than anything, to a point I put everything on the side and he became priority. Whatever he needed, whenever he needed me, or whatever he wanted me to do, whatever that was, I would do it. I remember when I first met him, he spoke like a kingdom spouse. We prayed together, we fasted together, and he actually taught me about morning and evening prayer. He fasted more than I did because I will be honest with you, I would only fast a day, and for me, that would be enough for a month or two. And he would do 21-day fasting, no problem. And I quickly convinced myself he was the one, because out of the full list that I had, he checked most boxes. And for some reason, waiting didn't seem necessary anymore, because we had already talked about marriage, and only after 3 months we were engaged. This is why falling means you go from a high level to a lower level, because you even lower your standards, or you forget who you are. And instead of waiting for marriage, I convinced myself that the engagement ring was good enough and gave myself away. Little did I know what trouble I was creating, because at this point, I'm not only creating a soul tie, I'm entering into a covenant that has no God in it. So our relationship became a full-time job, because I was trying to keep a man who didn't want to be kept, and I started roping God in it. So I would pray that God bless us in our mess. That's what we do, yes. Whenever we find ourselves in a mess, we call on God to bless our mess, or bless us in that mess. So it became a full-time job, to a point that all I did was pray for him. I had forgotten about my calling and my ministry, and I became determined to get married and stay married, even though Holy Spirit clearly told me before I married him, before the official wedding, clearly told me. And then I went on anyway. And at that point, we had already done the traditional lobola part. And I remember I remember this one time we were doing premarital counseling, and I remember my pastor saying, "You guys are not ready for marriage." And I vividly remember Holy Spirit saying I shouldn't get married, but I did anyway, because I was so desperate and I had been waiting for so long, and I thought that was my moment. And I want you guys to understand that I am saying this as a warning to those who are waiting for marriage, or in courtship already, or about to get married. Please be led by God in every step of the way. Be attentive. Be vigilant. Don't let things slide just because he apologized with a bouquet of red roses. Don't let things slide just because you think, oh, he's human. We all make mistakes. Don't let things slide and sweep under the carpet what needs to be exposed. Step into love. So what do I mean about this concept of stepping into love? Number one, chances are your kingdom spouse will not be your type. And if that's the case, the Lord will let you know of your spouse ahead of time, so that you get a chance to know them and see them through God's eyes, which will make you love them. If your kingdom spouse is attractive to you, or the kind of, or maybe they are the kind of person you normally go for, then tread lightly, especially women, because most of the time women dive in head first and ask questions later. Remember, this is God's plan, so follow His lead. Don't be the one chasing the man. Don't be the one pursuing the guy. His job is to pursue you. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. Remember that. And number 2, if he approaches you, let him earn you. What do I mean? Okay, let me rephrase that. When he approaches you, let him earn you. Don't be too available to him. Don't get too excited that you forget to bring your head to the date. Getting to know each other. When you get to know each other, always be ready to ask real questions and let it be a clean process. What do I mean? Meet in public. Let there be other people that are going to be your accountable partners so that you don't get tempted. And as you get to know each other, let it be on a level of friend basis. Number 3, ask relevant questions. Find out more about him or her. Let it be, let it flow. Don't be a detective about it. Find out questions, like ask him relevant questions until you get a clear confirmation from God. Relevant questions would have to be about him, or her, their family, their background, the vision, his vision or her vision, his relationship with God, future plans in terms of does he want kids? Do you want kids? Where he wants to live? Where do you want to live? You might be called as a mission worker in a third world country, and they are called to be in the entertainment industry, and those two don't go together, and it's going to be kind of like a rift. So find out details and be very transparent and unapologetic about where you are and what you need, because God did not give you the desires that you have right now, and did not give you this ministry for you to abandon it immediately as soon as you get into marriage or as soon as you get your kingdom spouse. No, this is your calling, this is your mission, this is what God has called you to do, whether you are single or married. Don't let marriage change God's plan for your life. So you need to be very, very strict on that. You need to be a person who doesn't disappear. Like, you need to find your confidence, find your feet, and find your stance. And number 4, the more you get to know them, get to know their circle as well, their church life, who are they accountable to, and watch how they treat people or how people speak of them. Be attentive to those things, because trust you me when I say a lot of people speak and are able to say what you want to hear, but when it comes to the doing, they don't match up. So these are ways just for you to be able to use your brain when you go into this, and not just dive in without thinking. So, and finally, The most important thing is to pray, pray, pray. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 17 says, pray without ceasing. You are about to make a life-altering decision that will affect 2 families and possibly create a 3rd family. You do not want to be a cause of that damage. You want to be sure when you're making this decision or when you are entering into this season in your life, you are doing what God has called you to do, not what your flesh is telling you to do. A lot of people are so ready and eager to get married, and they cannot wait to meet their spouse, and they just want to rush the process because, number one, they're still controlled by the flesh. It is natural for a body to want things, but you cannot be ruled by your flesh. There are ways to kill the flesh and allow your spirit to rise above. So you cannot be ruled by your flesh. Find out if you feel like your flesh is ruling you. Like, get in your secret space with God. Like, Lord, help me kill my flesh. Let me be able to hear you. Let me be able to walk with you. Even now that I have met this person, I want to be sure that this is the right person that you have called for me, or that you are giving to me. So in all that you're doing, consistently and constantly seek Holy Spirit to guide you. Jesus left you the Holy Spirit so that you can have a helper that will guide you and will be your advocate and will be your light in all that you do. So please do that. And remember, without God, this process will be impossible, and you will find yourself in divorce court sooner than later. I'm going to end it here today, and I hope this helps somebody. Until next time, to God be the glory.